In the mud and blood of World War I, where millions died in trenches stretching across Europe, one soldier became a legend. His name was Francis Pega-Magabo, an Ojibwe sniper from Canada, and he was the most effective sniper of the entire war. He recorded 378 confirmed kills and captured 300 enemy soldiers alone. He survived some of the worst battles in history: Ypres, Somme, Passchendaele, Vimy Ridge. He was wounded multiple times, but always returned to the front. German soldiers called him the Ghost because he moved through no man's land invisible, silent, deadly. His own commanders didn't know what to make of him. He broke every rule, operated alone, disappeared for days, then returned with intelligence or prisoners. He was court-martialed multiple times for insubordination, but was too valuable to discharge. He was awarded the Military Medal 3 times, a rare honor, making him one of the most decorated Indigenous soldiers in Canadian history. But when he returned home, Canada treated him like a second-class citizen, denying him veterans' benefits and basic rights. This is the story of the deadliest sniper of World War I, a man who became a ghost on the battlefield and was erased by history. Francis was born in 1889 on the Perry Island Reserve in Ontario, part of the Ojibwe Nation. He grew up hunting and trapping in the forests, learning patience, marksmanship, and how to move through wilderness without being seen or heard. These skills, passed down through generations, would make him lethal in the trenches. When World War I broke out in 1914, Francis was 24. He had no obligation to fight. Indigenous Canadians weren't even considered full citizens and couldn't vote. But he volunteered anyway, joining the Canadian Expeditionary Force. He was assigned to the 1st Battalion as a scout and sniper. His commanders quickly realized he was different. While other soldiers struggled with trench warfare, Francis thrived. He could navigate no man's land in complete darkness, crawling through barbed wire and corpses, getting within yards of German positions without being detected. He'd observe enemy movements for hours, motionless, then strike with precision. One shot, one kill. Then he'd vanish before the Germans could respond. They began to fear him, spreading rumors of a phantom sniper who couldn't be killed. Francis's first major battle was the Second Battle of Ypres in 1915, where the Germans used poison gas for the first time in history. Thousands of Allied soldiers died choking, their lungs destroyed by chlorine. Francis survived by urinating on a cloth and holding it over his face. The ammonia neutralized the gas. While others panicked and fled, Francis held his position, picking off German soldiers as they advanced through the yellow-green clouds. He was credited with killing dozens during that battle alone. At the Battle of the Somme in 1916, the bloodiest battle in human history, with over 1 million casualties, Francis operated as a forward scout, moving ahead of advancing troops, identifying German positions, and eliminating machine gun nests that would have slaughtered entire companies. His kill count climbed into the hundreds. At Passchendaele in 1917, fought in knee-deep mud where men drowned in shell craters, Francis continued his deadly work. He moved through the apocalyptic landscape like a spirit, untouched by the carnage around him. Soldiers in his unit believed he was protected by something beyond luck, perhaps his ancestors, perhaps the land itself. But Francis's relationship with his commanders was complicated. He refused to follow orders he considered stupid or suicidal. He operated independently, often disappearing for days on unauthorized reconnaissance missions deep behind enemy lines. He'd return with captured German soldiers, intelligence on troop movements, or having sabotaged enemy supply lines. His results were undeniable, but his methods infuriated officers who valued obedience over effectiveness. He was court-martialed multiple times for insubordination and demoted from corporal to private repeatedly, yet every time his superiors realized they needed him and sent him back to the front. Francis didn't care about rank or medals. He cared about survival, his own and his fellow soldiers. He saw the war with clear eyes, understanding that most officers were incompetent, sending men to die in pointless charges. So he fought his own war, using tactics his people had perfected over centuries: patience, stealth, precision, and intimate knowledge of the land. He saved countless lives by eliminating threats before they could kill his comrades. His fellow soldiers revered him. Officers tolerated him because his kill count was unmatched. In 1918, during the final months of the war, Francis was at Vimy Ridge and the 100 Days Offensive that finally broke the German lines. He was wounded multiple times, shrapnel, bullets, gas exposure, but refused to be evacuated. He wrapped his wounds and kept fighting. By the time the armistice was signed on November 11, 1918, Francis had survived 4 years of continuous combat in the deadliest war in history. He'd been wounded, gassed, and shot at thousands of times, but he walked away. Of the 378 confirmed kills attributed to him, the actual number was likely far higher. He often didn't report kills because he was operating without orders. When he returned to Canada in 1919, there were no parades, no celebrations. Indigenous veterans were denied the benefits given to white soldiers. Francis couldn't vote, couldn't own land off the reserve, and was treated as a foreigner in the country he'd bled for. He returned to Perry Island, married, had children, and became a chief and activist fighting for indigenous rights for the rest of his life. He died in 1952 at age 62, largely forgotten by the nation he'd served. It wasn't until decades later that Francis Pega-Magabo's story began to be recognized. Historians researching indigenous contributions to World War I uncovered his record and realized he was the most effective sniper of the entire war, more kills than any American, British, or German sniper. In 2016, nearly a century after the war ended, Canada finally honored him properly, naming a naval vessel after him and issuing commemorative stamps. But the recognition came too late. Francis had spent his post-war life fighting for basic rights, for recognition, for his people. The same government that had used his skills to kill its enemies refused to treat him as an equal when he came home. His story is a reminder of the uncomfortable truth. Indigenous soldiers served with distinction in both world wars, fighting for a country that denied them citizenship, rights, and respect. Francis Pega-Magabo was a ghost on the battlefield, invisible, deadly, unstoppable. And for too long, he was a ghost in history too, erased by the nation he'd fought for. But his legacy endures. He's remembered now not just as a soldier, but as a symbol of resilience, skill, and the quiet strength of a warrior who needed no recognition to know his worth.